Okay, so today we're going to learn all about proportion. Now, we did have a look at ratio and proportion before we finished school for lockdown, but I know it is a really, really, really long time ago. So all I want you to think about when we think of the word proportion is to think fraction. Now, why think about the word fraction? Well, proportion links really nicely to both fractions and to something else, percentage. Now, those of you that were in school last week and those of you that did all your online learning at home will know that when we talk about percentage, we need to think about 100% as being the same as one whole, okay, which we can also write as just the number 1, or we can also write as this if we're thinking about it as a fraction. So 1 over 1 is 100%. Is the same as one whole, is the same as 1. Now, this is really important when we come to think about proportion. So I'm going to show you with a little example what I mean. So we're going to imagine that we have a scientist who has done some observational work, and he goes outside and he looks at different varieties of birds. So he spots, first of all, a robin, okay? And he makes a tally chart and he keeps recording every time he sees a robin or a blackbird or a wren, and because he lives by a river he might see the odd kingfisher. Okay, so after he has seen all of these creatures, he adds up his tallies and he writes down the totals. Okay, so this is how many he sees altogether. Now, the first thing he does is he has to turn this into a percentage. Now, the reason he turns it into a percentage is because he wants to know what proportion of blackbirds he spotted, what proportion of wrens, robins and kingfishers. Now, how does he do this? Well, if we go back to this fact up here, this 100%, this is going to be really, really important. So he has seen 3 kingfishers, 5 robins, 10 blackbirds and 7 wrens. So the first thing that he does is he needs to work out how many birds he saw all together. Hopefully you've added it up in your head, or if not, made a quick jotting in your book. How much did you get? That's right, 25. Okay, so now that he's worked out 25 birds altogether, we need to now convert this into a percentage. Now, how do we do this? Well, we know that the total he saw must equal 100%. Okay, it must equal 100%. So what do? Well, we know that there are 25 birds in total, and we need to think, well, what is the relationship here between 25 and 100? What's our multiplier? That's right, it's 4. So now that I've worked out my multiplier, I now use the same multiplier to multiply every single individual bird total to give me the percentage. So I now do the same for the wrens. So 7 times 4, 10 times 4, 5 times 4, and 3 times 4. Can you work out all of the totals? Hopefully you've got the answers that are below. So we end up with 12% were kingfishers, 20% were robins, 40% were blackbirds, and 28% were wrens. Now, if you add up 12%, 20, 40 and 28%, you will get 100%. I'll give you a moment just to check that by doing a quick addition. Okay, so the next example we're going to look at is some conservation work. So, a conservationist wants to plant some oak trees, ash trees and beech trees. The conservationist has 60 trees altogether. 10% of the trees are ash, 20% of the trees are oak. What percentage are going to be beech? Well, let's go back to our original. All percentages out of 100. So if we have 20% oak and 10% ash, what's our percentage of beech? Because remember, our total has to be 100%. 100%. So what calculation could you do to work it out? I could do 100%, take away 20%, take away 10%. Or I could do 20%, add 10% is 30%, and then do 100%, take away 30% to give me my answer. Hopefully you worked it out mentally and you worked out that it was 70%. So now that we've worked out what all of the percentages are, how on earth do we work out how many oak trees this means, how many ash and how many beech? Well, we know that 100% is same as the fraction, remember that, think fraction, as 100 out of 100, which is the same as 60 out of 60, or 60/60ths. Now I've chosen that number because the scientist or the conservationist has decided to plant 60 trees. So our total number of trees is going to be 60/60ths if we plant them all. Now I'm going to start with 10% first because 10% is our easiest amount to work out. So we're going to work out 10% of 60. Now 10%, if we think fraction, is the same as 1/10. Now if we remember right back to when you were in school, to find fractions of numbers, we divide by the denominator and then multiply the numerator. So 1/10 of 60 is going to be the same as 60 divided by 10, which is, yep, that's right, 6. So I can now put 6 under ash trees. Let's look at 20%. Now, if I've worked out that 10% is 6 trees, how am I going to use that information to help me work out 20%? Hopefully, I should know that 10% add 10% is 20%. So the original 10% was 6 trees, add 6 trees equals 12 trees. So I can now put 12 in the box. So I've got 12 oak trees and 6 ash trees. So now let's figure out our 70%. 70% down, and I have to think fraction. 70% is the same as 7/10. So I'm actually finding 7/10 of 60. Now how do I do that? Well, if I go back and I think, well, I remember to do 1/10 of 60, I had to do 60 divided by 10 to give me 6. So if I have 1/10 as being 6, what would 7 of them be? So then I take my 6 and I have to multiply it by 7 because I want 7/10, which gives me 42. I can now put 42 in the box. Now, just in case something has gone a little bit wrong, I'm going to check that my 12, my 6 and my 42 add up to 60. So I'm going to do a quick column multiplication. So I'm going to do 42, add 12, add 6. 6 add 2 is 8, add 2 makes 10, 4 add 1 is 5, add 1 is 6, and I have got 60. So I know that I have worked it out correctly. Using these methods, you can solve hopefully all of the problems that are in today's activities. It doesn't matter whether you're working with decimals, whether you're working with percentages, it doesn't matter what it is. All you have to think about is that 100% as being 100 out of 100, so 100 hundredths, and then whatever number you are given, making that whole fraction of that 100%. Once you've thought of that fraction, thinking about dividing by the denominator and then multiplying by the numerator, making sure that at the end you add up all of the totals to check that it all works correctly. Good luck with your task today. Remember to send me pictures of your work that you've done in your books. I will post the answers for you on the letters page because our website isn't working very well on our class page at the moment. Good luck. Bye.